Welcome back, friends. Before we get into this one, I want to say it could be a heavy one. We don't really know where this conversation is going to lead us, but Jill and I are going to be talking about a real case from the US, a blended family on a cruise ship in November of 2025. An 18-year-old, I believe she was 18, and was killed by her 16-year-old stepbrother, and he has since been charged. And obviously, this is a very extreme, heartbreaking situation for the family, but the reason we wanted to talk about it isn't the crime itself. It's what it brings up about blended family dynamics. And I think I said to you, like, oh my God, this could be me.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think I've shared on the podcast and I've shared with you, there was a time like before little J was medicated where I was pregnant with Miss K, and obviously little J was hearing crap from his mum, and he turned around and said, I can kill you. Oh, I'm going to kill you and your baby.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there can be intense feelings, and I don't know. I couldn't find any information like on like more about the story. What information could you find?
Well, I was trying to find out how long the blended family had been in place. Mm-hmm. And even that was difficult to find. Right now, they're still in a custody battle because the younger sister of Anna, who is the young lady who was killed, obviously her bios want her not with that family anymore. Mm-hmm. And I can't even figure out who's who. So I think it was the boy that's being charged with murder who they have not listed his name because he is 16, so he's a minor. So we'll call him Bobby.
Bobby.
Or Joe. Bobby Joe. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. So his younger sibling's step or bio dad wants full custody of that sibling. And rightfully so. And I actually am shocked that anybody's even balking at this because read the room. Your child has been killed. It is. I don't even know why that's an issue. I don't know why it's taking so long to get that custody changed. That seems like an emergency custody, slam dunk. Not because it's getting back at anybody, but just for the safety of the remaining children.
Right. You've got to keep the children safe.
Yeah. I can't imagine that marriage now. The bio dad of Anna obviously he's been vocal about that he wants his stepson to pay and that he, wants him buried 10 feet under, has posted on socials about that, which I just think, obviously that marriage isn't going to last.
No.
Right now, the court, I'm not sure when it goes to trial, that he's been formally charged. There apparently are more charges that could come, and trigger warning, it is that there might be have been some sexual abuse charges coming. I don't know, abuse or assault, assault charges coming, which is, it's just horrific.
Maybe I
don't even know.
Looking in all the right places, but I did find some, is it CBS clips on YouTube?
Yeah.
Where Anna's grandparents were talking about it, and they said that Anna and Bobby Joe got along like siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't even like they had a strained relationship.
Yeah.
And they said that, she'd gone to the casino and had a couple of drinks or something. And then had told them that, she'd gambled, she'd lost, she was going back to her room for the night. But that was after, she'd gone back to her room early because she said she wasn't feeling well.
Right.
But then she came back all dressed up. So I'm like, that just sounds weird.
And it's terrifying because she's 18 and on a cruise ship that leaves America and does a loop from America, 18-year-olds are still 18-year-olds. It's not an 18-year-old going to England and now I can drink. There's just so many places where this is going to get uglier and uglier, which is why was this 18-year-old drinking? And then you wonder, well, was the 16-year-old also drinking? And, if there is a sexual assault thing, what did happen? And they were sharing a room. And I know a lot of people are like, why would they ever do that? Why would they have them share a cabin? And as a travel agent, that's very normal. You put your kids in one cabin, the adults in another cabin. Often cruise land, kids are considered kids until they turn 21. So anyone under 21 cannot be in their own room unless it's connected to, the adult's cabin. So my assumption is that they had a door going through to the adult's cabin.
Right.
So I don't think that's weird. I think that's pretty normal.
Exactly. Like here in Australia, kids are adults at 18. So, we're traveling on a Carnival cruise. We've booked 2 rooms and we're going to shove all our kids into one room. Well, we're going to keep our daughters separate, but we're going to shove the 3 boys into one room. And it terrifies me at the thought, like, what if they get into a fight?
Yeah.
Like, our kids have a balcony. We've laid down ground rules, like, you're not to open your balcony door. Like, if we catch you opening it, we're going to, like, whoop some ass. But, like, for us here, like 18-year-olds can drink, 18-year-olds can gamble. So to me, that part wasn't until I realized that they did enter international waters. So like, where did they cross international waters? Like, did that make it so that she was legally able to drink? Because I know for you guys, it's 21.
Yeah. And no, that doesn't matter here. If it's a domestic out of the cruise that, starts and finishes in the U.S. laws apply, that it doesn't matter international waters or not, they still can't drink.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's true, who knows, but it is. And I don't even think it's limited to blended families, but it's an example of how things can just go sideways with the right ripples in the pond. Obviously we've heard your story. I know, my eldest has extreme anger issues and tendencies to lash out physically. My husband and I have talked about, what if we had an ours baby? We've talked recently about this, about that we're, for whatever the reasons that it wasn't meant to be, one of those reasons might be how she would have reacted to an ours baby, because how she's continuing to react to me 15 years later is with a lot of anger and not violence, but I can see where it could become violence, more so when she was a teen, and punching walls and shoving me, and how quickly it could have gone a bad direction. And in any family that can happen, and it obviously is tragic, but it does highlight, unfortunately, the difficult side of blending families.
It does. And I remember because we briefly heard about it here, and then you and I talked about it, and you're like, you're going on a cruise, good luck. But there's so many layers to blended families, and no one really knows what's going on. And like where you said that they're now saying that there's like evidence of sexual assault, were they actually in an intimate relationship? Because they're not half siblings, they're step siblings, which that's not illegal, it's not incest. And I remember, so when I was a teen, there was a magazine, right, for teens, and it was called Dolly, and in there was Dolly Doctor, and then on a local radio station they used to have Dolly Doctor on and answer questions. And I remember when I was a teen, there was like teen step siblings that were in an intimate relationship together, and the sister ended up getting pregnant and they didn't know how to tell parents. Or like you talk about teen mum, I know you're a teen mum fan just like me. You've got Caitlin and Tyler, who were step siblings, even though they were seeing each other first before their parents were, they were still step siblings.
Yeah And I know, and this isn't to diminish, I know this is opening the door for a lot of people to activate, but I would almost rather it be that they were in a relationship and they were doing some kink and she died, then he got angry and killed her.
Yeah. But I am invested, obviously not overly invested because I have enough drama in my own life, but I'm invested enough because I want to continue to find out. Like, I want to follow this to the end, because at the end of the day, like, the truth has to come out.
Yeah. It's well, hopefully. I mean, we have a lot of good laws that prevent minors from, in this case, we may never know what happens because he is a minor.
Yeah.
It is that they're not charging him as an adult at 16 sort of tells me that we don't know the whole story, because if if it really was just cold-blooded murder at 16, the trend here is that he would be charged as an adult to make sure that he, wasn't able to be released from jail at 21. So the fact that they are still charging him as a minor kind of tells me that there is more to the story that we may never know, that maybe they were in a relationship. And like we said, it went wrong. There's a lot of wrong turns being made. Obviously, they didn't find her body for, I think, 18 hours. I don't know how long it took them to notice that she was missing. Now,
something like
I
the
haven't.
cleaner found it. So
Yeah.
the thing that the cleaner found it when she lifted up the mattress, found her shoved under
Yeah.
the bed.
Yeah. So I think that probably he just said, "Oh, she never came back to the room last night." So they weren't even thinking to look in the room.
Yeah.
And they were checking all over the ship and the footage, and did she go overboard? Like, what happened? I don't think anybody just registered, like, check the room based on what he said. And that tells me that right there tells me that they trusted him. And so I don't think there was like a lot of volatility that anybody suspected he was lying, or that he was there when it happened, or that he did it. But the thing about after they did find her body, the his bio mom not telling bio dad for 30
I did not hear that.
is not great.
No.
What was she covering for? Again, it's a really shitty situation. She might not have been covering for anything. She might have been like, "Oh my God, like our kid just killed somebody." But I do feel like that's something I would just like relay immediately.
Yeah, like I can't imagine.
And then he went to live, the 16-year-old went to live with an uncle until he was then, arrested. And actually he might be released right now and living with the uncle, but not living with bio dad either, because I do think that, there's just, it sounds like this is not the first blended situation in this umbrella. It looks like bio mom may have had some issues of her own. It doesn't sound great.
He has been released into the custody of a guardian.
All right, so that's the uncle.
And there are reports that he went through pre-trial processing, whatever that means.
Yes. So that's when you get charged. So he's been charged with murder, but the actual trial hasn't happened yet.
I did read something about like the FBI got involved because it happened in international waters.
In international waters, yeah. And that's where cruising, that's the part of cruising that's not great, is if something happens at sea, mostly everybody law related is like, well, I don't want anything to do with that. So, and that's very common. Like, what country were they closest to when she died? Let them be in charge.
Yeah. Like my cruise that I'm going on leaves Brisbane, travels up the north coast to Cairns. Then as it's coming back out, it travels out to international waters so we can get our duty-free alcohol and cigarettes if we want cigarettes. And then cruises back down to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Like,
so theoretically, you're under Brisbane laws. But yes, as soon as you cross that line and turn, as soon as the shops are open, and if you want to break the law, feel free, because it'll take them forever to figure out who's in charge.
Maybe I'll throw a child overboard.
Yeah. I'm just kidding, everyone. Do not do that. They'll be like, well, that travel agent said. I heard it on the podcast.
She's a bad one. Don't listen to her.
Tourism Australia, do not listen to that. That was a joke.
It was absolutely a joke.
Unrelated to murder. Just tell your cabin attendant to lock the balcony door. They have a key.
Okay. Because we want ours open. We don't want theirs open.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And we need a balcony because I got really badly seasick last time.
I need a balcony because I'm bougie and I need somewhere to drink my coffee in the morning.
I just need fresh air. Like, I had a porthole the last time I went on a cruise, but I got so seasick. Like, I was hugging.
I know, and you're like, I just want the air, as you're rubbing the window.
My sister let me sleep next to the window, at least.
Yeah.
But my husband's like, I'm not going to be locked in a tiny room. I need a balcony. I'm like, okay. But yeah, that's good. We're going to ask them to lock the balcony.
I just have them lock it.
That way the kids can just like, we think that they can, on some of them, they can remove the dividers.
Yes.
So we'll ask them to remove the divider if they can. because then we'll
But they then wouldn't be able to access it from their side, only yours.
which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find any more notes about this.
I think that, I mean, honestly, from what I've read, it wasn't like a tumultuous blended sibling situation. That's what my fear is, that people reading it will think that, my God, this is one of a blended family where nobody gets along. And that someone who really would like to promote the health of the blended family, I don't love that. And it's a reminder, every family has issues. Kids fight, siblings fight. Sibling rivalry is a real thing. Birth order is a real thing. And when you throw in someone who, you create a situation where there is birth order, but also blended birth order, it can create chaos. But it's not necessarily that different than a regular traditional family.
It is. All right. So I just found the report that you were talking about. They named him.
So then this is where it's interesting. The Anna's family has gotten in some hot water for what they're posting on social media, because they're not supposed to be posting about the case.
So
And they're naming him.
I'm looking at courttv.com, right? And this is how she
Really?
is. Yeah. So they're referring to him as TH. And maybe I will bleep this out just so I don't get in trouble. But then it reads, since Kepner's death, details of the investigation surfaced in a separate custody case involving Kepner's stepmother. And now, this is where it gets interesting, because I believe the child is named after his biological father. Thomas Hudson, TH's biological father, had filed an emergency petition asking for custody of the 9-year-old daughter he shares with Chantel Kepner, TH's mother, who took him on the cruise. Chantel is Anna's stepmother and was on the cruise with Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, and their other children. The petition claimed the 9-year-old was endangered due to the circumstances surrounding Anna's death. Now, I'm sorry, but if the child's biological father wants nothing to do with him and is trying to protect the daughter, there's some issues there.
Yeah.
There's
definitely some issues. I feel like I should have made a dry erase board because I was trying to figure out the family tree, and I actually, wait, let me just pull this up here. Okay, so Heather is Anna's bio mom. She was married to Chris, who allegedly cheated on her with their then 15-year-old babysitter, ending their marriage. Heather, Anna's bio mom, has struggled with addiction issues and hasn't been present in Anna's life. And she does have 2 other sons. Chris Kepner is Anna's biological dad, remains in her life. He was on the cruise. But there is some blurriness on whether he has raised her full time or whether Anna has primarily resided with her Kepner grandparents. So then,
on the cruise.
Yes, there was Tabitha, who was Anna's first stepmother, possibly was the babysitter that Chris cheated on bio mom with. Chris maybe had a sexual violence injunction against him. So it says Tabitha later married Chris and raised Anna, and that they have 2 children in common. This is all like, it's all like speculation. And then and then we start into someone called the Donahues, and I do not know who these people are. So I'll have to send you this link for the notes. Yeah. Okay, Chantel is Chris Kepner's current wife as of December 2024. So they were not even married a year when this happened. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
But this does name the children. Yeah. So there, we can call him Tim now. It's on the interwebs. Tim Hudson.
Oh, there you go. I was assuming he was named after. I might still bleep that out because I don't want to be sued.
True. That's a good point. Well, they won't get much from me. So Bobby Joe was on the cruise. Anna was on the cruise. And then 2 younger children were on the cruise, although it doesn't say here whose younger children they were.
She was found dead under a bed, wrapped in a blanket and covered by life vests, according to a security source briefed on the investigation.
Crazy.
I feel like this would have been a better episode if we'd done our research better, but, we like to wing shit.
I mean, this is like live research.
It is.
So, well, I did try to do research and I got so confused. I was like, Who is who? I don't understand. Which is probably why it's taking so long to go to court, because they're probably like, this is messy. Yeah, it's crazy. I think that whatever happened, obviously, Bobby Joe panicked, wrapped her up, put her under the bed. And then when everyone was like, where's Anna? He probably was saying, I have no idea. Obviously, he wasn't going to say, well, she's under the bed where I wrapped her up with a blanket after she died, when we don't know how.
So all I can find is that he has been formally charged with homicide, but as a minor, which means that because he's a minor, everything's completely sealed. So there's no public charge sheet, no public court details, no confirmed timeline for the trial. So technically charges are referenced in court documents, but not fully public confirmed in the usual way. So we need to wait for a documentary to come out on Netflix.
Yeah, I got to go down and get my media badge and show up at court.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it more. A media badge for Raising His Kids podcast.
Yes. That is where I think that the pieces that we're missing, it's very common here for anyone really over the age of 13 who is being charged with something heinous to be charged as an adult if it looks like this person, needs to stay in jail for longer than past age 21.
Yeah.
Very common, not, if a 14-year-old commits a mass shooting, they will be immediately charged as an adult.
There
because
was a recent
here
shooting near you.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yep. Ish. Yeah. Welcome to America, where we just shoot everyone. Anyway, that's not important. That's why I'm going to move to Australia.
We still have
Australia's like,
shit.
we don't want. Yeah. But because in America, charges that you're charged with as a minor often are expunged once you turn 21. So the fact that he is not being charged as an adult, he's very close to being an adult. It would make perfect sense if it was an adult. So there is something here that we're not getting the details on that makes it less heinous. Not that it's not terrible, but heinous is the magic word.
Yeah, which would tell me that it wasn't deliberate and it was an accident and he panicked. And that's why to me, it leans more towards that maybe they were having a relationship. Because a 16 and an 18-year-old, it makes sense.
Right.
But I think that leads us down a whole other rabbit hole, which is like relationships between, like, if I had a daughter instead of a son, or if one of my stepkids was a daughter instead of a son, like disregarding my bio daughter because she's related to her brothers, but I'm talking about the step-sibling dynamic.
Yeah,
I feel like
the true step-sibling. Yeah.
It adds a whole other layer when they're not actually related.
Yeah. And the fact that they were only just married 11 months, it could very well be that the kids just met at, they would have been 15 and 17 probably. Or they knew each other in school or whatever.
Yeah. So, what if the kids were actually dating and that's how the parents met?
Right. Yeah. And it is a whole other dynamic. And I know there's a lot of people out there cringing right now because like, oh my God, they're siblings. But truly they're not.
They're not. It adds a whole other layer. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll get a Netflix documentary and then we can unpack it again.
So I hope so.
It definitely gets you thinking. It gets you thinking about the different intricacies of blended family dynamics. Everyone seems so shocked by this because they're like, they got along like actual siblings. So I'm like, if they get along like actual siblings, no one just snaps like that.
Right.
Like and siblings, fine. Don't get me wrong. Like my brother held a knife to my throat.
Yeah, there's been no indication that they had a volatile relationship.
Yeah.
Prior to this, in which case I would say, like, why the hell did you put them in a cruise cabin together then? But there's no indication of that. It just seems like a very normal, healthy, got along great, which also makes my brain go, maybe they got along more than people.
Yeah, maybe they got along a lot better than what everyone realized. So maybe one day we'll find out the truth.
Netflix, we need you to get on it.
And on that note, I'm going to thank everyone for joining us for this episode. Thank you, Jill, for getting up early to join me, but I'm going to go to bed now.
All right, go to bed.
Thanks, everyone,
Thank
for
you
joining
for having me.
Don't forget that if you like this episode, episodes coming out monthly, but please leave us a review. Go like, follow, share the content. Go like, follow, share Jill's content. Really engage on her Tourism Queensland posts as they start popping up, and leave the podcast a 5-star review. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.